Africa is now the world's youngest continent.
Africa is the youngest continent. Majority of the population are under 35.
What are we doing about the youth? Because the youth constitute one of the important pillars that we're focused on.
Let me say the youth are not only the future of this region, but I believe we are the present and future.
If we define what do we mean by young people, there is this external perception that young people are a homogeneous group. This is not the reality. We have also young people in vulnerable settings. We have young people with disabilities, and we have foremost young women.
But again, a population that is ill-skilled and unemployed can be a demographic curse. So this is the challenge, but the opportunity is in us trying to convert this demographic dividend into opportunities.
But also young people, as being the largest population, they are our biggest asset.
Because the richness of nations is not in stones, but in its people.
It's never been more important to develop our youth into confident and transformational leaders that can navigate Africa through the incoming economic and political climates. Africa's youth are faced with growing concerns about how to thrive in their purpose, and that's where YouLead Africa comes in. Founded in 2017, we are Africa's flagship youth leadership program, following the youth's greater demands and expanding our work from the East African community to the continent.
There are many challenges facing young people on the African continent. The biggest one of them is that each and every one of the young people in Africa have the desire to become a leader. I think investment should be made more to build the capacity of young people in Africa to become effective leaders.
Under globalization, the world is small. The whole world outside there has skills. We need to equip our youth with the requisite skills so that they participate properly, even in global interaction.
And this means that we need to do more to create economic opportunities and work opportunities for young people.
YouLead for me represents that opportunity for young people to first of all think about their problems collectively and then develop, if it be disruptive strategies to take action on addressing those challenges.
The summit, it's not just a 3 days or 4 or 5 days event for young people to come and chit-chat and go home. Whatever they are saying is influencing our one-year work, what we call the post-summit agenda.
With now more than 10,000 alumni and over 30 partners, and active partner-led work in all 5 major African regions, a One Young Africa is our vision.
We have a great vision. We're envisioning 150 delegates in person, 20,000 virtually, but this is not, to me, the only success indicator. The success indicator is ensuring that all these 20,000 young people virtually provide inputs and meaningfully engage throughout the conversation, and all their suggestions are then incorporated into our post-summit agenda.
Look at 2017, just East Africa coming together, and now thousands of African young people.
YouLead Summit 2021. We are proud to announce that we are going continental, coming together as a One Young Africa.
And we want actually to break the borders. The CFTA is here. We want African young people to come together under YouLead Summit platform, trade together across the borders, innovate together across the borders, and create jobs as well as prosper together.
That's what drove us to become, One Young Africa. We have the potential and the capacity to do so.
From 8th to 12th November 2021, we are hosting Africa's largest hybrid summer ever with YouLead Africa's patron, His Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, former President of Tanzania as Chief Convener, and Honorable Dr. Peter Matuki, the EAC Secretary General as co-convener. The theme is The Future of Africa, creating jobs, feeding and housing the world's youngest continent.
I call upon policymakers, development partners, the private sector, media, civil society, and other stakeholders to be part of and support the East African community in convening this year's YouLead Summit.
It will attract participation from all the partner states of the EAC, and indeed the continent. I thank you. Asanteni sana. See you in Arusha. Tujenge vijana wetu.
Since 2017, YouLead Summit, as popularly known, is jointly convened annually by the East African Community and MS Training Center for Development Cooperation in Arusha, Tanzania, in collaboration with a myriad of partners.
COVID-19 is both a blessing and a curse, equally.
We have seen how the COVID pandemic has hit very hard young people.
And this is why YouLead Africa will bring together more than 15,000 people on a single platform, because travel is restricted, but more people come together through the internet, courtesy of COVID-19.
We are welcoming a virtual and physical audience from all African countries together on the same platform.
Nonetheless, COVID-19 has reduced the opportunities for young people. Young people have lost jobs, and COVID-19 pushes us beyond the boundary to innovate and create jobs that we have lost using COVID-friendly mechanisms such as online platforms, as well as increased cooperation between and among young people across the borders, especially under the CFTA, which regards that trade should happen beyond borders of any country.
The 2021 summit will be delivered in the form of thematic forums. The Under 40 Political Leaders Forum, which examines current representative democracy models. The Under 40 Business Leaders Forum assesses the existing environment for doing business.
So it is important to engage and involve youth from initial discussion about our drive to promote continental free trade area.
The Arusha debate is infused into YouLead Summit to generate insights into how to make social and economic development a reality.
Yes, so the Arusha debate is being convened by ourselves, MSTCDC. As you know, we're quite curious, but also propagate Pan-Africanism and knowledge that is homegrown and bred.
Arusha hosts a number of higher education institutions, and it's the right place for hosting the Arusha debates. The Tanzanian government has been so keen under the leadership of Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan in getting all the youth participate.
The Arusha Peace Model showcases models that promote the role of youth in peace building. The Gender Equality Forum discusses ways to dismantle the structural causes at the root of gender inequality. East Africa to Bonke, a joint flagship initiative of YouLead Africa and Kenya Young Parliamentarians Association, KYPA, to foster young leaders' legislative enlightenment. YouLead Summit 2021 key milestones. Launch of the East African Youth Agenda. Unveiling the inaugural EAC YouLead Fellowship.
Okay, welcome everybody. We are so excited to have you today. My name is Kemi and I am your host for Unplugged. Just in case you haven't been here before, welcome. We are very happy to have new people joining us every week. This is a very open and free space for young people to just discuss things that we feel matter to us and how we can meaningfully participate in different areas of our lives, in our communities, in our countries, in our regions. So again, welcome. I encourage you to leave your name, your country, your organization in the comment section so that we can get to know you. We really love to connect with you. So feel free to leave all that information over there. I'll also keep checking just to say hi to you, to read out some of your comments on the discussion, and we'll just take it from there. Again, this is not a very formal space. Grab your cup of tea, your cup of something, and relax, and we'll have a good conversation. Now, this week, YouLead is hosting some consultations about the East African community that we want. And we're doing this on country basis. And that is what has inspired the discussion today, actually, which is the Africa we want. And in particular, peace and partnership for growth. Now, we are hosting some very wonderful guests today who are going to help guide this conversation, share their thoughts as we just give our 2 cents on this topic, okay? Now, Our conversation will draw quite heavily from the Kilimanjaro Declaration, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But first, I'm going to let our guests just introduce themselves, tell us who they are, what they do. Let me start with Lamin. You're welcome. Please go ahead and say hi, tell us who you are.
Yeah, hello everybody. Good afternoon from Senegal. Yeah, very pleased to be here. As you said, it's a youth space, where we interact. So I'm Muhammed L Saidykhan, movement coordinator at Africans Rising for Justice, Peace and Dignity. It's a Pan-African movement of people and organizations working across the continent and diaspora. A Gambian young activist, I would say very passionate Pan-Africanist. And I will just stop there. A lot more can be read about me online if you Google my name, hopefully. You'll find that. So I'll give that to the rest to do a small bit of research. Thank you.
Okay. You are very humble. He's not saying things, but there are things to be said. But thank you. Thank you for joining us and for taking some time to be part of this space. Now I'll give some time to David. You are welcome. Please go ahead and say hi to the audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I am called Emolot A David, and I am the national coordinator of the African Youth Charter Hustlers, an initiative by the African Youth Envoy, African Union Youth Envoy, mainly aimed at increasing youth participation in all spheres of life, in all spheres of government. So what do we do? And what we do is mainly, of course, do empowerment and development programs of youth to just help them build capacity. So what is our vision? Our vision in Uganda currently is to facilitate the institutionalization of Ugandan youth in participation in all spheres of government, mainly be it political debates, be it economic debates, be it all around spheres. So our agenda as the African Youth Charter Hustlers is to produce a holistic youth so that they can be able eventually, of course, to have an impact in the community. So that is mainly what we do. And we say hustlers because it's a hustle. Dealing with youth is not really something that is easy for those who have dealt with. And I know you leaders is dealing with youth every time. It's not really easy to deal with youth. So it's really a hustle, and we keep pushing day and day. So that is briefly what we are that is actually what we are. Yes, so thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank you so much for that introduction. It's always great for us to hear about people doing work with the youth because that's something we're very passionate about. So thank you for sharing that. Let me just say hi to some of the people in the comments, all you wonderful people who are joining us. I see Ferdinand from Burundi, welcome. Nancy, Marina from Cameroon, Mustafa from Ethiopia, Daniel from Malawi. I wish I could go through everybody. Nkosi, Husseini from Nigeria, Karen, Zambia, Bini from Kenya, Esther from Uganda. Hey, we have such a wonderful and diverse audience today. So we're very excited to have you, okay? Please continue leaving your comments because we really want to know. We really, really want to know who you are and where you are watching from because, again, we don't want to leave anybody behind. We want to make sure there's a space for everybody. I see someone putting up their hand. I'm going to ask you to wait. You can leave your hand up, although we'll have a segment for that. But right now we're going to get into the discussion with our guests. But you can keep on commenting in the comment section. And if you'd like to say something, just keep your hand up and I will get to you later on, not at this particular moment, okay? Okay, great. So let's get into our discussion. Now, like I said earlier, our conversation is going to draw from the Kilimanjaro Declaration. Now, if that's something you haven't heard of before, here's a little summary, okay? In August of 2016, 272 representatives from civil society, trade unions, parliament, media organizations, and faith-based groups from across Africa and the African diaspora gathered in Arusha, Tanzania, and committed to build a Pan-African movement that recognizes our rights and freedoms, okay? So one of the declarations that was made reads as follows. We are committed to building a citizen movement that is accountable to the constituencies we represent. And drawing from that, it made me think of, when we think of peace, we're often thinking about the absence of war. We're not always thinking about, the finer details. For example, the strife that tends to exist between we, the individuals, and our immediate leaders, local council, before you even get to parliament, all that strife that is there is, to me, a source of conflict. It's where a lot of this stuff begins. So I'm going to direct this to David. Maybe you can share your thoughts with us on where this process starts. How do we start from down here so that we can build up to regional peace, to international peace? Where is that place that we start from? Go ahead.
Thank you, Kemi. When I was thinking about this, I was wondering, actually, how did we get here? Thank God, my co-presenter is a total Pan-Africanist, and I would want to start from that point. Kemi, me and you and the people here, we know that charity begins from home. And ideally, for me, peace begins from home. So how did we even get here to discuss this? If you look at the local context in the African tradition, let me go back a bit. How were things done those days? If I say charity begins from home, when we were growing up, we were taught how to share. We were taught how to look after one another. We were taught how to be there at all contexts whenever someone is struggling. This issue, the principle of Ubuntuism that our fathers, our godfathers, of course, have been talking about over the years, that of course influenced eventually the independence. That's what, for me, I believe, as we are discussing peace, the beginning point of peace, before even we come to the leadership, is home. That is where the foundation of peace is laid. If we can just go back to that history, that's where I believe the foundation begins. So what needs to be done? Me, as an African and as a Pan-African in that sense, I believe the first step where we need to start from is by going back to where we belong as Africans, to start instilling these principles to our own children, who are, of course, again, going to be future leaders of tomorrow. Let's start encouraging them to share. Let's start motivating them, creating these avenues of togetherness. Right now in my neighborhood, we have wall fences all over, which doesn't even, this social cohesion is no longer there. There is no unity, there is no love. We only come out when we hear someone making an alarm. Oh, there's a thief. That's when we get to know, oh, what is your name? Well, I'm called so-and-so, when that happens. But peace, to me, begins from home. That's the first step. That is the first foundation. So yes, this has happened. What needs to be done? Yes, we have quite a number of youth who have got into the political sphere and don't have this context of how peace eventually emerges, or the foundation of peace. What needs to be done, and how can we foster this? To me, I believe the first thing that I've always been talking about, even in the panel we had this afternoon, is about education, empowerment, capacity building. And this is what I believe also my brother here, who is on the call with me, and also YouLead, is doing amazing work. We have identified the problem that the bigger population of youth right now out there don't understand peace and how it even begins. So the bigger thing where we can start from is empowerment, using our small spaces to talk about peace, to create all avenues, or educate people in whichever way, be it formal and informal education. The formal education could be boardrooms. The informal educations could be in our own conversations. This can be the starting point where we could begin educating. So for those in leadership, what needs to be done? I always believe in affirmative action. When 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 people come up and say, you know what, we want this to be done, or this is how we should do, these people in leadership will listen. We have seen this happen. We have seen in Southern Sudan, where, in Sudan itself, where a university girl, in a way of fighting for her own freedom and peace, rose up and said, enough is enough. We want this to be done. So that is kind of the radical way of awakening our leaders. But to me, I believe so much in these other smoother ways, mindset change, that I believe is the quicker way. And that can only be done through education, educating our people, empowering our people from the local government. Uganda here, I always say that the 2021 general elections brought quite a number of young leaders into government. But what do they come in? Most of them don't understand this. We saw to the build up to the 2020 election, there was a lot of violent extremism, which of course hinders peace in that sense. So what needs to be done? It's education in everything. All these leaders need to be sat down, and this is what the African youth data hustlers are trying to do. We are rolling out a program, or we are already rolling out a program that is mainly geared at empowering youth at all. And when I say empowering youth, it really means looking at those gaps, filling in the gaps. Where did we miss?
Sorry, David, just a moment. Just a moment. Could we please all mute our... Okay. Someone needs to switch off there.
I'm able to earn the country 300 million. Why would you blame me for that?
Franklin, please mute the... Okay.
Okay. So yes, I know I've already summed up my my submission, but as I conclude, I would want to still go back that for us here who are young parents, I would urge, what I would urge us is to begin training our children how to live in a community. That could be the first point of us solving the issue or the gaps of peace that we are seeing right now. But with our political leadership, what needs to be done is affirmative action from the youth, and most importantly, educating people. Yes, roll out these programs, have partners on board to support the programs, and educate. That would be my starting point. And this can go through from the grassroots to the university, harnessing a secondary up to the university level, then of course to our local leadership in all aspects of all the decentralization system in our governments. Yes, thank you so much, Kenny.
All right, thank you so much, David. Two things I hear strongly are education and using our voices. So those are points that really stood out for me as you were speaking. And I mean, we can't help but agree, at least most of us. And to our audience, feel free to comment in the comment section. Feel free to leave your thoughts and everything there as the conversation is going on. I'll keep reading from them to contribute to the conversation. So that was a very powerful, and I mean, I can tell that it's something that you have conviction about. So thank you for sharing that. And I think that we can definitely agree that education on whatever cause we are trying to champion, educating is always primary, it is always key. So the next thing, I'll direct this question to Lamin. So what vital considerations should our leadership be making or even turning into policy in order to foster partnership? Because we are talking about the peace, right? And we want this peace to lead us to this point of partnership. So what should our leaders really be focusing on? What should they be doing, making moves in for that to become a reality? Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Fiona. That's a very good intervention from David there. I want to say that, the point of departure, which is about peace, nothing can happen or can be sustainable without peace. No development can be sustainable without peace. No partnership can be sustainable without peace. So peace is very critical and very crucial. So our leaders really need to really understand that the world is being run by collaborative partnership. So collaborative partnership is the new darling of development in this world now, and we all need to see our leaders understanding the dynamics around the win-win situation. But what have been shown and what have been the reality on the African continent is that most of the partnership Africans are not really benefiting, especially in terms of extraction of resources and the production of the resources. So it's high time for our leaders to really, reflect on this and understand that Africa is endowed with natural resources, and these natural resources are one of the main force and source of partnerships globally. So what critical fundamental thing is, one, they really need to think of the people. In any partnership, the masses should be the fundamental foundation of any partnership. We need to put the people at the center. What benefits will this partnership bring to the masses, to the majority of the people that they are leading? So it's very critical for leaders in partnerships not to be self-centered or not to be driven by individual and selfish interests. Just one. Again, in partnership, it is critical for leaders to think of the long-term, goals. What will this partnership bring with the end results? What will be long-term goal and long-term results for this partnership? It's critical for leaders to really think, to be very visionary in terms of going into partnership. And then, we have seen that there is a whole challenge around, short-sightedness in terms of strategy and partnership for Africa's development. And it's critical for leaders to think of that, going for partnership that will be like, 10 or 15 years or 20 years, or let's say 50 years of partnership in terms of development that will change the lives and the livelihood of African people, wherever in any context. It is critical for also, for our leaders to really understand that, the drivers of, partnership should be the people. People really need to own, any development agenda. And if any development agenda is not owned by the people, then it becomes a tool or a vehicle by governments. And this really need to change the narrative. We need to change the narrative. As our young generation, we really need to hold leaders accountable to ensure that key partnerships or development agendas have been driven from the people. The people, it has to be people-centered, it has to be people-driven, because the leaders are nothing if they don't believe in the people. Because people are nothing when they come to this world. We all came into this world without even a piece of cloth. So that means the leaders are driven, are made out of the people. So they should represent the interests of the people. So many development policies fail in Africa because they are not driven and they are not citizen-centered. They are not people-centered. So a holistic approach of, making everybody to understand what partnership governments are going on, what policies need to support those partnerships. Africa, we've seen that Africa recently have made a lot of great headways. The FTCs, the African free trade zones that have been agreed on. These are great partners. These are great policies that have been agreed on. But now the collective approach in ensuring that citizens are taking these partnerships that they have agreed on to work together to allow movement of goods across Africa, it's been embraced by all citizens. It's been embraced by all sectors of society. Then these policies can be implemented. If people embrace these policies, they can even stop the police. They can stop anybody who will be interfering into the implementation of the policy. My brother David talks about a very critical point, which is about in activism and in civil society framing, we call it conscientization, educating the masses. It's very critical that Africans, it's high time for us to, if you say wake up and rise up for our rights and then for our lives, because we really need to know that the leaders there that we put there, these are people that are supposed to serve us, these are our servants, and they need to do things on our interests. So that conscientization for people to understand their rights, their entitlements is very critical. And that journey is very important for young people to start leading, for young people to start educating their masses, for start understanding that any partnership or any agreement that our governments are signing, that our regional councils are signing, are on the basis of our interests. Governments are put together to bring equality. That's why we have government. That's why we wanted to bring. We had AU. That's why we have all these regional blocks. Rex is to bring equality. Because human beings could live based on. We used to live based on who has power. African people used to live based on who have power. You have power, you can conquer the places. But what do we change ourselves from the colonization? We said we need to manage ourselves as African people. The purpose of us managing ourselves is to bring equality, to ensure that everybody goes to school, everybody have the basics, everybody have the basic health facilities. So in that regard, that means we all co-own the states, we all co-own the countries. So And we call on countries and put in leaders by electing them to be in place. So, but one thing that is critical and happening in Africa is we have seen that leaders at the end of the day, enrich themselves in those spaces through numerous ways of partnerships that favors them. We have also seen that, people leaving leaders to really loot and then deal with national issues based on what they want and how they feel about things. So it's high time for African young people to take up the mantle of leadership, to take up the space and understand that they are the majority, not only the majority, but they are the dream and the future of Africa. And they're supposed to be the runners, they're supposed to be the doers of African development. So without that, us realizing that, taking our masses about it, we might be struggling to really fasten our realization of the true African dream.
All right, thank you. I think one thing that kept coming up in what you're saying is just the masses, the value of the masses. The masses are fundamental in building these partnerships. And that's definitely, I think that's something that we can all agree with. I'll just read a couple of comments. Harrison says, true peace is very critical and our leaders should come together for the development of our continent. Goret says, mindset change is key. It works on our attitudes, biases, stereotypes, and general social acceptability to hitherto discriminated groups like youth and women. And says, thank you, David. All right, let's see. Nancy says that without peace, we do not have a country. That is why it should be our first priority every day. That's what we cannot disagree, can we? We all agree that indeed it is vital. Now we're going to get into a session of Unplugged that we always do, where we have a little bit of trivia. Okay, this is where we just relax a little bit before we get back into the conversation. And everyone is free to contribute, to take part in the trivia. You just put up your hand and then answer, or you can answer in the comment section, whether you are here or you're on Facebook, we will see your answers. So we're going to get into that trivia session. Just a moment. We're just going to switch up this screen for you so that you can see the questions here as well. Okay. All right. The first question, all right, we'll get that together. The first question is, I guess people who have some kind of interest in animals should know this one. How many hearts does an octopus have? The clue there is hearts, so it's not one. So how many hearts does an octopus have? Does anybody know? You can just switch on your mic and say, this is the answer. Does anyone know? No, sorry, it's not two, but so close. So close. Anybody else?
3 hearts.
Who said 3?
Yeah.
Correct. It is 3 indeed. An octopus has 3 hearts. And don't feel bad if you didn't know, because also me, I learned this today. I did not know. But that's one of those fun little facts to have in your pocket. Our next question is, this one is for my geography people. Well, geography and history, I guess. Which African country was once called Dahomey? Which African country was once called Dahomey?
Benin.
Correct. I can't even see who is speaking. Who is that?
Marina.
Oh, Maria, thank you so much. Correct. Hey, that was on the ball. There you go. The country that was formerly called Dahomey is Benin. Okay, this next one is also a geography one. This island nation geographically is considered part of Africa, has an Indian population in the majority. It's an island nation, part of Africa, with a population that is majority Indian. Does anybody know what country that is? Island is a big clue. Pardon?
Mauritius.
There you go. Thank you. I think that was Korea. Thank you. That is correct. That island country is Mauritius. And to be honest, even me, this one, I did not know. So we have learned it together. For those of you that didn't know either, we have left here with one small fact that we can just keep. Okay, so we're just going to get back into the conversation. I see a comment here from Harrison. He says the public and political discourse should explicitly recognize the need to invest in peace building. So mistrust and dissatisfaction are not pushed into darker recesses where they can fester. More public discussion and debate locally and nationally about how to achieve the vision of a stable, peaceful, and prosperous Africa that benefits all. Ah, well said, Harrison. Very well said, very well said. Indeed, it should not be left to fester. That's why earlier I was talking about, these grassroots problems we have, these things, before you even get up there to presidents and countries and regions, these issues that we have on the lower levels, that is where it all begins, okay? And that's why we need to lend our voices to educating people, to making efforts in the direction of just having more harmonious relationships right from the root. So the next thing I'd like us to discuss is in the East African region, we have the East African community, and they've made such tremendous and commendable efforts in bringing the East African countries together, the 6 East African countries, to truly, work towards the vision of an integrated region. And it's amazing what they're doing. And I'd like to direct this to David. How would you say that kind of arrangement, like this type of thing that the EAC is doing, and I mean, it's not just the EAC, I know that this is something that's happening in many different places. How would you say that kind of thing is propelling us forward? How is that something that we should, we should keep going for, and because it's leading us in that direction? Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Kemi. I think the best thing that has happened to the East Africans is the East African community, and having all the East African countries commit to the community. It's something that is going to be that is actually currently very beneficial. You should know that the consumers in East Africa alone are 146 million. That to an East African youth is a big market. To a local farmer in my small village in Chira here, who is maybe selling watermelon. That market can be found in Tanzania. That market can be found in South Sudan. That market can be found in Kenya here. So for me, it's like the best kept secret. It's something that when I see some people coming to fight the East African community or coming to trash the successes already made so far, I get angered because they don't understand the value or the importance of the community itself. To us, the far that has brought us. First of all, the other thing maybe I could talk about is identity. Me identifying myself as an East African when I'm probably out there, it gives me pride. People be like, oh, it's unfortunate they only know Nairobi. Oh, you're from Nairobi. But that to be still is something that gives us pride. And having a sense of belonging. And I know to all of us here, what we should know that there's already an identity crisis in the world. People want to be identified. The Blacks in USA will also want to be identified. So for us as East Africans, it's something that propels us and also gives us an edge over other regions or over other continents. How I wish now with the one African, of course, market, we now go to a one Africa. How YouLead is pushing for a one young Africa. For us, we would want a one Africa in general. So, but the East African community is something that I believe to the youth mainly, specifically to looking at the socio-economic and kind of political integration is something that has helped us grow because there are a lot of synergies that have been built. One of our country representative here, I think she's on a call, Harriet, has been able to run some initiatives with colleagues in Kenya. You know, when you're lacking in terms of knowledge here, your colleague in Kenya can help you provide that. And that is something that the community has helped us, exchange of ideas. Gone are the days where we would need to call experts from UK or Germany or wherever to come and educate us. We can now tap on the community, the knowledge within our own selves. Those are the two things probably I can pick on, the knowledge sharing and the economic bit of it. Because if you look at the challenges that we have not even talked about, or the challenges that, the startup song that always talks about is the unemployment. The East African community is breaching that gap. We have a hustler, one of our hustlers is actually working in Nairobi. Another one is in Nigeria. Another one is in Tanzania. So that alone shows you these are the opportunities the East African community is giving us as the youth, and it's helping us bridge this gap. And going forward, if our heads of state entirely commit to having a one East Africa, that is something I would want to see in the near future. I know there are strides being made. Our passports now are reading East Africa, and also we are now working on having a central bank, East African Central Bank, which land has already been secured in Uganda. So if we can look at the future of having a one East Africa, that is something that will benefit us, the youth, who by 2050, by the way, we are going to be 3 billion East Africans in general, 3 billion Africans. So you can imagine in East Africa alone, we are going to be over 1 billion in East Africa because of this. So the thing is, this East African community is something that we need to take seriously. It's something that East African youth need to tap on seriously. Just like the way the hustlers, some of our hustlers are doing. And that is what I also encourage. Most of the East Africans on this call are not only East Africans. My brother Lamin can also tap in. You know, there's a lot of resources here. So we can also tap in from this side. So that is the best thing in terms of economy and also knowledge sharing. So that is it, Kemi.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much for that. I like what you said about identity. There's something very powerful about identifying as a group, you know, not just saying I'm Ugandan. Yes, I'm proud of it, but I'm saying I'm an East African because the region matters to me, you know, the larger region. So Ugandans, we need to start speaking Swahili, by the way. The whole East Africa cannot be speaking Swahili unless we are just here. It's a great way to identify with other people in the region. So there's that. But thank you for that. I do think that definitely identity is such an important thing in integrating our region, and not just in East Africa, but integrating the various regions of the continent. Okay, let me just get into the comments a bit. Jackson says that this public discussion and awareness should not be confined to urban centers, in nice hotels and so on. It should be taken even to rural areas in the simplest ways possible. We absolutely agree, Jackson. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I mean, at this moment, we are working with the space that we have, taking in consideration COVID and so on. The online space is the space that we can use at the moment to reach people, but there is no doubt that reaching people physically in those places is extremely important. And that's work that we are, not just us, even our consortium members actively do on a wider scale outside these current conditions. These conditions are constricting, so we are doing our best to reach as many people as we can in the safest way possible. Harriet says that I also like the fact that you add commitment regarding the East African community, because the magnitude of what the EAC can offer goes highly hand in hand with the commitment from member countries and nationals as well. Absolutely. If that commitment is not there, then it's just a word, you know. East African community is just a word if we aren't actually committing to these different things. All right, so I'll get a little bit more into the comments, but thank you. Please go on leaving your thoughts there. As far sorry, just a moment. Okay, so I'm going to direct this next one to Lamin. Now, in the Kilimanjaro Declaration, there is a point that states African youth are critical to the foundation of building the success of our continent. And if you read our posters, you know that Lamin works with Africans Rising, and they're hosting a very interesting event that I feel ties in very well with this specific point. And I'd like him to tell us about it. It's all about, you know, the role of youth, of African citizens coming together and working towards that solidarity. So, Lamin, I'd like us to discuss a little bit about that meaningful participation of the youth in this cause, and how this upcoming conference plans to address that as well. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the whole declaration that you talked about, the Kilimanjaro Declaration, came out of whole holistic and cohesive approach that Africans have to take, and most of them were young people. When they met in Tanzania, and I was part of opportunity to be part of that. Young people across the continent coming down, criticizing ourselves in terms of how do we really, continue the true and deliver the true liberation of Africa. Africans need to really depend on ourselves. They really need to, trust ourselves, our own intellectual capacity, our own intellectual capability, to ensure that, we are driving our own agenda, within ourselves. I think David talks about, sharing, exchange of sharing of ideas and expertise within Africa. I think we also very much strongly, encourage Africans to really see and walk beyond borders. The borders that have been put around, by the Western powers when they met in Berlin and cut Africa into pizza, and then allow ourselves to be called Nigeria or Uganda or Gambia or whatever. This fragmentation and then giving us these languages have really made it difficult and very hard for Africans to really work together. So what Africans Rising Initiative and then the whole Pan-African movement is trying to see, how do we create a unification of our people, and then strengthen that collaboration and that cohesiveness for our work. So it has been now almost 5 years since we started building this movement, the Pan-African movement called Africans Rising for Justice, Peace and Dignity. Right now, the movement is in 190 countries across the globe, all in the whole 55 countries in Africa, and as well members, 32,000 members across the globe, and as well 900 organizations participating in terms of ensuring that I'm believing the drivers of the declaration that have a lot of different elements that you have been reading since the start of the program. So it's critical for us to reflect on this process. Where are we? How have we been? What have we promised ourselves from the beginning in Arusha? So where do we want to go in terms of building this Pan-African unity movement that will continue to advance the rights of Africans, but also empower Africans to be able to take charge of their destiny and be the drivers of their own cause. So the conference, the Pan-African All Africa Convening, it's called the All African Convening, is part of one of the activities that are building towards the YouLead Africa Summit that has been planned as kind of conferences that will inform some of the development suggestions that these conferences will give to leaders to really improve the lives of Africans. So the conference is putting together Africans from everywhere in the world, coming down to an online conversation where we reflect on the need for solidarity. Why do we need to work together? The spirit of Ubuntu, which our forefathers have been working with, and that's why the cohesion and the spirit of love was very strong in them. So we want to revive that and then see how we can work together. The East Africa community, people in the East Africa region, how can they work together? How can they strengthen their collaboration in terms of how they work together as East African community on issues that are affecting them? Again, how can they work together in the West Africa region, Central Africa region, all the other regions? How do we cohesively work together to ensure that we strengthen the collaboration? Again, talking about key issues, women's rights issues, key issues around environmental, justice issues, and as well the expanding of space, things that this particular convening will be dealing with, allowing Africans to discuss and deal with their own issues. So all Africans are encouraged to participate in this process, and then we hope that all those who are attending here will register. I'll send in the registration link for people to join the conversation and be part of driving our own agenda and driving this Pan-African movement. We want people to input and people to give their own perspectives in terms of how Africa really leads its own agenda and own things.
Thank you so much, Lamin. Please do send us the link so that actually I'm going to go ahead and send that link to the All African Citizens Convening that Africans Rising is organizing. It's going to be a great online conversation for Africans all over the globe, not just on the continent, but even Africans in the diaspora, to just come together and discuss enhancing solidarity towards building the Africa that we want. This is one of our pre-summit events, so it really is going to inform some of the aspects of the upcoming YouLead Summit in November. So we really do encourage you to take part. If you are not in our WhatsApp group yet, you can also join. I'm going to ask one of my colleagues here to send the link to our WhatsApp group so you can join, so that you have every single update as we count down to our summit in November. Now, there are a couple of people who have had their hands up, so I'm going to give some of them an opportunity to contribute to our conversation. David Evans, I see your hand is up. I'm going to ask you to just take 1 minute to share your contribution. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, Fiona. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys, for this session. I'd like to reiterate, or maybe just commend the panelists for the words of wisdom. But in the same measure, I think I'd like to disagree to some extent with, or just to add a spanner to what Mr. Emolot Alan, if I got the name correct, on the solution being education, which I find it to be, that the peace issue in Africa has not been in any way related to education, or education is not really the answer to it. I'd reiterate what Muhammed Lamin said. The issue is about resources. It's about inclusion. It's about resource allocation. And if you look at the traditional African societies, they used to fight. And peace, if you study peace in the African traditional society, there was still conflicts, but then they had their own education system, which worked for them, according to them. So when you talk about education, so basically it's like trying to say, that we need the Western education in order to solve peace issues in Africa. But then my point is that the issues related to peace in Africa are majorly economical, are majorly physical, are majorly related to distribution of resources and inclusion. And again, I believe there is a lot that needs to be done in terms of policy. Now we were talking about the leaders, policy, where we have policies in intrastate and the interstate and all in the regional blocks, where we are converging, and coagulating different strengths, in terms of economic strengths, in terms of even in the specific countries, in terms of political strength, whereby every part of the state and every strata of the society feels included. The issue of peace is basically an issue of lack, is an issue of inequality. These are the areas that really need to be addressed if Africa is to really move forward. For example, there has been just in the regional integration in East Africa, EAC, there's been a bit of a bad blood, between one or two countries, and we all know. But then the issue is, there has been sanctions, left, right, and center. So there are dialogues, there are sanctions, there are dialogues, there are sanctions. It's basically an issue of inequalities. This country produces this country produces this, but then this country feels like this country is exporting or importing more than we are, we are benefiting less compared to the other one. So the aspect is on policies that will actually make it a level ground where both countries or different parts of the society, the youth, the women, the men, the children, they are all represented and they're gaining things, equally. So peace can be achieved from that angle, where we have policies that are formulated to actually cater and just make a level ground for the different stratas of the society to coexist together. Thank you, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Evans. That was such a great contribution. I definitely feel like that aspect of inclusion is a big one. It is definitely the cause for a lot of strife, a lot of conflict, even between countries, yes, and even within our own countries. I feel like David wants to say something about that. Am I right, David? I see like, you want to say something? Say something, go ahead.
I actually agree. I actually entirely agree with Evans that resource, maybe inclusion or in the natural resources is also key. But I would want to maybe interest him to read the story. If you believe in the Christian point of view or worldview, you know the story of the prodigal son.
I am a Christian. Thank you very much.
Exactly. Where the man wanted his assets, give me my assets. So he was given these things without the knowledge of how to multiply this and safeguard this. What we have had over the years in Africa is people crumbling for positions or wanting to get into positions without learning how to sustain themselves in those positions. And that's where education comes in. Yes, I can give you the oil. I can give you the landmines. I mean the mines, probably gold or diamonds. But yes, you will have them. But are you informed enough to make the best use of those resources? We have Congo here. We have quite a number of stories examples we can go to. So even if we are developing policy, which I also entirely agree that we also need good policies, but to also implement those good policies, we need informed people who appreciate the value of these policies. And to appreciate these beautiful laws and legislations we enact, we need to be informed, we need to be educated on how to implement them, respect them, and promote them. And that's where, to me, I always focus at the beginning, as I said at the beginning of my presentation, that charity begins at home, peace begins at home. We educate them from home. Then when we go out, when we reach that point of sharing resources, we already know how to manage, how to sustain. Let's not be like the prodigal son, given resources, squanders them, and comes back to the father that, you know what, forgive me. Yes, the father was lenient enough to say, okay, thank you, my son, you can come back. But I don't think that is the same story that will happen to Libya. Yes, the Libyans won't have that same story where the father will be like, yes, my son, come back. So that's where we want education. When our leaders are gone, we want these spaces. Are we capable of sustaining ourselves without them? That is where education now comes in. But I entirely agree with your points, and they are valid. But that is why that's where I was coming from. So thank you. Yeah.
All right, thank you, David. I saw Lamin, your hand was up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to just give one quote, that Africa really needs, let me just say that, Africa is the nerve center of the world that Africans need to understand. Why are we nerve center of the world is we are the center of, what the world needs for survival. So that being the case, every human being on earth needs resources to survive. And Africa is blessed with these resources. So the way we manage these resources, the way we utilize these resources, and the way we allow the scramble for resources have a lot to deal with our peace and stability as a continent. So the solution to our problems and our issues, the critical step that we should take is to develop, a value-based ethical leadership, value-based, equitable leadership, that leaders are contented, leaders see people, leaders see the masses, leaders see the majority and the interest of the people, so that they will work with the rest to protect this wealth that Africa is endowed with. Then there'll be peace, because then we will have enough wealth to liberate ourselves. Africa actually achieved political liberation in many angles. They even helped others to politically liberate. What is hanging there is the economic liberation. And the whole world is not allowing us to achieve that. But our generation should be the drivers of that. What we need to have right is to have the right leadership in place from the foundation of the communities I'm talking about. from the communities, the ghettos, we need to have the right leadership, driving to the national and continental-wide, equitable leadership for us to really drive, putting the country and the people interests at the front line. With that, Africans will rise and we'll reach there.
All right, thank you so much for that contribution. I'm going to take a moment to recognize someone in the comments. There's a gentleman called Azaveli Loitama, 69 years old. Hey, welcome, Karibuni sana. We are so honored to have you. It's very rare that we have older people actually join us and be part of the conversation. He says, I am 69 years old, retired academic who believes the youth will achieve Africa's second liberation, as articulated by the late Patrice Lumumba. I am attending to listen and be inspired to continue to believe that Africa's hour is coming. Wow, thank you so much for joining us. This is, we should actually mark this day on our calendar. That's an important thing. It's always great for generations to come together. So we appreciate you joining us. All right, we are really short on time, okay? But Enoch put his hand up first. So Enoch, I'm going to give you just 1 minute like this. 1 minute to share what you would like to share. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm so grateful for whatever is happening and for the deliberations that for the previous speakers that they have given. But one thing which we have, which is quite perturbing Africa development, is implementation of all the programs, all the policies that they have made. When you look at all the countries that are having instability, it is lack of hygiene in politics. There's totally no hygiene in politics. When you look at all the resources that youth could tap, everywhere there is limit. When you look at the laws that are governing all these countries that are set up, they don't give all that kind of liberty to the youth to tap all those resources. Look at all the powers that are given to all the leaders, and all the leaders who have all the powers, it seems that they don't have the brains to implement what they are supposed to do, to give away. Look at all the countries that are suffering, all the African countries that are having coups, which is quite a very bad indicator. We are not seeing that, and all the leaders are not having the will to implement and promote better democracy, which can give a good landing site for all the policies that can promote all youth developments. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Enoch. Thank you, Enoch. That's definitely something that has run through our conversation, the issue of ethical leadership and how vital that is to peace, to partnership, to really every other thing that we are trying to achieve for our communities, our countries, and our regions. I apologize for anyone who hasn't had a chance to speak, but we really do value your contributions. Again, feel free to join our WhatsApp group where we really do have open discussions over there as well. You can keep updated on different activities, even outside YouLead, really, because the people on our groups also come from different places, talk about different things. Hey, Daniel, you really want to talk? Can you talk in 30 seconds? I will let you talk if you can talk for 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, sure, it's true. I think if the likes of Patrice Lumumba will wake up today and see such a forum and young people coming together to discuss such issues, they will go back to their graves smiling, So one thing I want to put across is the fact that this Africa will not be made by anyone else. And I think I like the energy that is being brought together by the youth, especially Fiona Kemigisha. It's a wonderful job. And one thing I want to say is places don't make people, but people make places. So let our youth not escape from our problems. Yes, we have them, but let's not escape. Let's not go to Europe. Let's not go to USA to develop other places. Let's come back, because this continent will not be built by anyone else other than us, with passion and love for this continent. So in such a few words, I want to say thank you, Fiona, for that opportunity. And I'm looking forward to having some more time to talk about Africa, because it's worth it.
Okay, thank you so much, Daniel. We appreciate your contribution. Again, guys, you can join us on the on our WhatsApp group. You will get all the updates and everything. We appreciate our guests for taking the time to come and speak to us. Please remember that the African Citizens Convening is coming up, and you can register for that. We have left the links in our comments, and we will also reiterate that on our WhatsApp group, just in case you missed it. It's going to be a great conversation with people from very, diverse backgrounds and places in the continent. So that's something you absolutely want to be a part of. So please go over there and register. You can even click now and go register. So again, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Our guests, again, a very big thank you to you for dedicating this time to come and just share your thoughts and guide this conversation on peace and a partnership. So we are going to close here, because this is, we like to keep this short and sweet. So this is where we are closing. Again, thank you. And we will see you next week on Thursday, because every single Thursday we are here having a discussion about something important for young people of Africa. All right, so have a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The YouLead Summit 2021 is here. Since 2017, the YouLead Summit has been jointly convened by the East African Community and MS Training Center for Development Cooperation in Arusha, Tanzania. This annual climax event is now East Africa's largest and most diverse forum for young leaders, mentors, government policymakers, development partners, academia, media, private sector, and civil society from all over the continent, to craft responses to the continent's rapidly growing youth population, their challenges and opportunities. Wondering how to become a delegate? Head over to our website, www.youleadsummit.org. Follow the prompts and enter all the required information and submit. After submission, your application will go through assessment, review, and finally admission. Admitted delegates will be announced weekly on our platforms until we officially close applications. One day before the summit, delegates will be able to log in and get acquainted with our virtual space. You will be able to visit partner booths and product stands, check the forums you've registered for, view the conferencing environment, confirm venues for all your sessions, network with fellow delegates via our live chat room and lounge, and view the conference schedule. Once the summit kicks off, you will be ushered into our virtual summit lobby, where you can ask questions at the info desk and speak directly to us. At this point, you can navigate to different areas of the summit. The exhibition hall. Here you will find a collection of booths by our partners and sponsors. In these booths, you can interact with our partners and sponsors directly via live chat, and you can view and save uploaded documents and videos, as well as view products and services. Auditoriums. The YouLead Summit comprises several thematic sessions: the Under 40 Political Leaders Forum, the Arusha Peace Forum, the Gender Equality Forum, the Arusha Debates partner-led workshop sessions, and East Africa to Bonge. You will have access to all these auditoriums where you can watch live and semi-live webinars. You can also ask questions and talk to fellow delegates and other attendees in the live text chat. The lounge. Here you can live chat with other attendees and delegates in between sessions. So log on to www.youleadsummit.org to register and apply.
YouLead Summit 2020 theme was Development is People, Youth at the Center of the Peace and Development Agenda. The summit was brought closer to thousands of delegates through a specially designed virtual summit platform, making it possible for delegates to participate through a hybrid setup that was adopted when the COVID-19 situation limited cross-border travel. With the Regional Summit Center in Arusha, Tanzania, at the East African Community Headquarters, and National Summit Centers in Bujumbura, Kampala, Kigali, Nairobi, and Juba, an even broader online audience was able to participate. Day 1 was dedicated to youth in politics, the East Africa Under 40 Political Leaders Forum, reinventing leadership for East African millennials. The summit facilitated a set of intergenerational conversations between young leaders, policymakers, and key national and regional political actors in order to solidify a common purpose, understanding, and solidarity between them. The Nairobi Summit Center played host for Day 1, and key sessions were held simultaneously via live telecasts between the EAC headquarters in Arusha, Nairobi, and Juba, providing for a unique hybrid experience. The highlight of the summit and Day 1 was the acceptance by His Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, former President of the United Republic of Tanzania, to become the patron of YouLead. Key outcomes launched the process of developing the East African Youth Governance Architecture Report and the East African Youth Manifesto, the East Africa We Want, broadcasted an intergenerational roundtable dialogue on the leadership for the East Africa We Want, and a roundtable conversation on the leadership for the East African Community We Want to inform the curriculum for the East African Emerging Leaders Fellowship Program. Day 1 also featured the Gender Equality Forum, young women mobilizing towards Goal 5 of Agenda 2030 and Aspiration 6 of Agenda 2063. Young and senior women gathered virtually and in Arusha for an intergenerational conversation on young women's participation in leadership towards realizing meaningful inclusion of young women in good governance and leadership, to tackle several questions which had been raised and co-created by young women in the region through the leadership of Plan International Kenya. And of course, the icing on the cake on Day 1 was the evening fireside chat with His Excellency Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete, who freely mingled with the young people and shared words of wisdom with the delegates. Day 2 was dedicated to the East African Youth Forum on Peace, Youth at the Center of Peace Building and Conflict Prevention. The forum was dedicated to providing an opportunity for youth to have their voice heard and strengthen their ability to engage in peace and security and contribute towards building an effective, well-coordinated and responsive youth sector that acts in solidarity within the region. The discussions focused on the vulnerability of youth in conflicts in the region and the role youth can play in peace building, ensuring sustainable security and stability in East Africa. The forum was led by the YouLead Consortium in South Sudan, with sessions at the EAC headquarters, Arusha, Juba, and virtually. The chief guest being Rebecca Garang, Vice President of the Republic of South Sudan. Key interventions proposed in the forum include consolidate an East Africa Youth Network for conflict prevention and peace building, capacity building for young peace builders on reconciliation, mediation, and arbitration, peer-to-peer roundtable conversation for experience sharing on the implementation of peace and conflict resolution mechanisms, peace building advocacy training for youth in the region, and capacity building for youth on implementation of UNSCR 2250. A series of high-value breakout sessions were also held in the afternoon, facilitated by a number of consortium members. Day 3 was dedicated to the East Africa Under 40 Business Leaders Forum, accelerating economic opportunities and decent work for youth, and the East African Youth Enterprise Awards. Introduced in November 2019, the forum has gained traction in the region, especially amongst young CEOs, entrepreneurs, and innovators. The 2020 forum, jointly hosted by Burundi and Rwanda, was composed of well-structured sets of sessions focusing on youth-specific policy and capacity issues, resulting in a set of outcomes that could be taken up by the EAC member states, development partners, and other actors. In addition, the YouLead program piloted its first ever East African Youth Enterprise Awards, recognizing youth-led businesses across the East African community, the partner states which in the current COVID-19 pandemic global context had managed to remain resilient and are simultaneously taking deliberate, innovative actions towards providing decent livelihoods and confronting the most pressing issues of our region, especially those affecting women and youth. Day 4 was dedicated to post-summit agenda development as well as creating a strong alumni network, the YouLead Action Network, and the agenda of action based on the outcomes of the national level pre-summit events. This resulted in a common regional agenda for action and country-specific interventions. Day 5 was a follow-up of Day 2 and was dedicated to combating violent extremism and promoting safety online, resources for youth-led